It was the first Monday of the school year, and the corridors of Westbridge High were buzzing with the usual nervous energy. Among the shuffle of students, lockers slamming and echoing footsteps, something new cut through the monotony, a graceful woman with proud posture, smooth cocoa-brown skin, and long, meticulously braided hair that cascaded down her back like a royal curtain. She was Miss Olia Brooks, the new English and history teacher, freshly graduated from Howard University and ready to inspire. But what Alia didn't know was that she was stepping into a school drowning in the quiet toxicity of racism, bullying, and entitlement. From the moment she entered the teacher's lounge, she sensed it. The tight-lipped greetings from some of her older colleagues, the way their eyes lingered on her hairstyle as if it was a rebellion. But Alia wasn't one to be rattled. Raised in the Bronx, daughter of a single mother who had run a martial arts dojo, Alia learned discipline, grace under fire, and strength beyond the physical. So, when she stood before her first period class, she smiled with confidence and hope. That smile began to wither by the second week. The school's worst-kept secret was the unspoken rule that a group of privileged students, mostly athletes, and children of influential parents, ran the halls unchecked. Their leader, Carter Reynolds, the quarterback, wealthy, smug, and merciless. He didn't like being corrected in public. He especially didn't like it when a young black woman dared to mark his paper with a Simonus. That's when the whispers began. Teach thinks she's better than us. Who she thinks she is, with them ugly ropes on her head. And then the day came when the whispers turned into action. It was a hot Thursday. The air conditioner in room 205 was broken, and tensions were high. Alia was halfway through explaining the themes of injustice in Kill a Mockingbird when Carter and his goons Dax and really pulled out a pair of scissors. It happened fast, like a thief in the night. Carter yawned exaggeratedly, got up from his desk without permission, and pretended to stretch. Then in one horrifying instant, he lunged forward, grabbed one of Alia's braids, and snipped. He cut it clean off. The class gasped. Alia froze, staring in disbelief at the braid dangling like a dead vine in Carter's hand. For a moment, time stopped. The humiliation was deafening. Carter smirked, tossed the braid to the floor like it was trash, and muttered, "Oops. Didn't know ropes could feel pain." Laughter erupted from the back. Alia's heart pounded, not from fear, but from fury. She picked up the braid with trembling hands, looked around the room at the students whose faces shifted from humor to horror, and then she breathed in deep. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind. "Remember who you are never powerless. You are trained not to attack, but to end what must be ended." That's when she moved. In one fluid motion, Alia stepped forward, dropped her clipboard, and with a turn that was more dance than defense, she launched a spinning hook kick that caught Carter square in the ribs. The sound was like thunder clapping through the class. Carter let out a scream, not a tough guy scream, but a broken, wheezing sound that told everyone he had never been hit like that in his life. Dax lunged toward her. Mistake. Alia twisted, ducked. Palm struck him in the chest so hard he staggered back over a desk and collapsed. Really stood frozen, trembling, her phone half raised, unsure whether to record or run. Alia stepped toward her and said with calm, "Sit down," and really obeyed. The room was silent. The laughter had vanished. The classroom had become a battleground where the underestimated had risen. Security was called. Administration was called. When the story spread across social media that evening, the school was not ready for what came next. A video leaked, the braid being cut. The moment Alia defended herself. The hashtags #ProtectBlackTeachers and #NotYourTarget started trending. What had been meant to humiliate her had turned into a firestorm of justice. It that way. The school board, afraid of lawsuits and political backlash, suspended Alia pending investigation. Carter's parents demanded her termination. But something else was happening beneath the surface. Students, teachers, parents, those who had been silenced for years, began to speak. Emails flooded in. Letters, testimonies. Alia's strength had awakened a sleeping conscience in Westbridge High. She sat at home, her remaining braids tied back, facing doubt and fear, but she was not alone. Her mother visited. Her students rallied outside the district office. and deep inside, the fire was still alive. Because sometimes it takes one act of righteous force, not out of rage, but out of truth, to shatter decades of silence. And Aaliyah wasn't done yet. She was just getting started. Chapter 2. Asterisk, the world outside Aaliyah's modest apartment had changed. Journalists were knocking. Civil rights lawyers were calling. Documentaries were being pitched. Yet all Aaliyah wanted was justice, not fame, not spectacle. She sat in her living room, staring at her phone, scrolling through messages from students she'd barely spoken to, all saying the same thing: "Thank you for standing up." The school board was in chaos. They had suspended Aaliyah, but the backlash from the community was growing louder each day. Petition to reinstate her had already reached over 75,000 signatures in 48 hours.
A local news crew showed up outside
Carter's mansion, and the footage of him limping in a back brace only added fuel to the fire. Carter's parents tried to claim that Aaliyah had violently assaulted a minor, but they underestimated the power of video proof and the public's hunger for truth. Meanwhile, Aaliyah was summoned to a hearing. She walked in with her head high, her mother beside her, a few of her braids still missing, but her spirit intact. The board sat like judges behind a long table. Across from them sat Carter and his parents, along with their high-priced lawyer. The superintendent cleared his throat and began reading the charges. But before he could finish, something extraordinary happened. Dozens of students walked in, then teachers, then parents. One by one, they stood in the back of the room. Then Maya, a quiet freshman with lokes, stepped forward and handed a stack of letters to the board. "These are our testimonies," she said, "about years of unchecked bullying, about racism, about how we've been silenced. Ms. Brooks isn't the problem. She's the first real solution this school has seen in years." The room went quiet. Leah watched as the expressions on the board members shifted from indifference to shame. A teacher stood, then another. One white, one Latina, one older black man each, sharing how they had been afraid to speak. How Aaliyah had reminded them what it meant to protect one another. The board had no choice. Carter was suspended indefinitely. Dax, too, really received probation and mandatory counseling. And Ms. Aaliyah Brooks, she was reinstated with full honors. But she didn't return to room 205 the same way she had entered it the first time. The day she walked back into Westbridge High, she wore a traditional African kente wrap. Her braids were redone, fuller and longer than before. She wasn't just a teacher anymore. She was a force. The school changed that year. Anti-bullying programs were launched. New code of conduct was enforced this time, actually enforced. And for the first time, the hallway murals were repainted not with European explorers and white presidents, but with Frederick Douglass, Maya Angelou, Rosa Parks, and Malala. Aaliyah didn't just teach English now. She taught courage. Students came to her class not just for Shakespeare or Baldwin, but to learn what it meant to have a voice and use it. And yes, she taught martial arts after school. Her dojo held. In the gym was open to all. Carter's injury had become a lesson, not in violence, but in consequence, in strength, and in the power of standing up when no one else will. Years later, a student would win a national writing award with an essay titled "The Day My Teacher Fought Back." And it began with the line, "She walked in with braids and walked out a legend." So if you're watching this and you've ever been silenced, mocked, bullied, or made to feel small because of your hair, your color, your name, your voice, remember this: you are not powerless. You are not alone. You are not a target. You are a force, and the world needs to feel your presence. Hit that subscribe button for more powerful stories like this. Share this with someone who needs to believe in themselves again, because one story can change everything. One truth can bring justice. And one kick, just one, can wake up the world. Asterisk.